She cared for the kids with such profound affection, often forgetting it was merely her job. Yet, on that fateful day, before their terrified young eyes, she was accused, humiliated, then cast out like trash. The powerful man believed he could silence the simple woman with fear, but what Amelia uttered in court made even the judge lower his gaze. This is the tale of a nanny who lost everything, and still taught the true meaning of love. The golden afternoon light streamed through the towering windows of the grand estate as Amelia settled onto the living room rug, helping young Lucas assemble a vibrant block castle. Chloe emerged from the kitchen with a shy smile, clutching the hot chocolate Amelia had prepared moments before. Everything seemed serene, until the main door slammed open with excessive force. It was Mr. Thompson. The way he strode in, tense, rigid, a black briefcase tucked under his arm, Amelia knew something was deeply wrong. "Go to your rooms, now," he commanded without even glancing at his children. "But Dad, Aunt Amy's helping," Chloe tried to protest. "Go, that's an order." The children, bewildered, obeyed. Amelia rose, swallowing her apprehension. That's when he tossed papers onto the table and declared, without a flicker of hesitation, "You're fired, Amelia. And this time, for just cause." Amelia didn't move. She stared at the papers strewn before her as if they were written in an alien script. Mr. Thompson's face was unreadable, but deep down she sensed he was enraged. Worse, he was resolute. For the past 2.5 years, Amelia hadn't simply been a nanny. She'd been a constant presence, a source of affection, a stable routine. Chloe, at 9, often said Amelia was like a second mum who made better pancakes than the first. Lucas, 6, never drifted off to sleep without hearing her voice reading a story spun on the spot. They weren't just a job, they were home. Amelia was 29 and carried the weight of a lifetime of silence. She grew up in a small town, the daughter of a cleaning lady and a father who never returned home. She started working young, left school early, and navigated life holding the world up with one arm. Being the nanny at the Thompson estate was just another role, but those children, they were different. The first time Chloe had a fever, Amelia spent the entire night on the sofa with the girl in her lap, waiting for her temperature to drop. When Lucas fell and scraped his knee, she was the one who took him to the emergency room, because Mr. Thompson was traveling and wouldn't even answer his phone. She knew more about their fears than their own father did. But there he stood, looking at her as if they had never exchanged a single heartfelt word. "Do you really think I'm an idiot, Amelia? Money vanishing every month from the household account. 5,000, as if no one would notice. It was you. It could only be you." She tried to speak, but her voice caught. The accusation was preposterous. Her salary barely covered rent and transportation. How could she possibly be siphoning off money? "Mr. Thompson, I never took anything that wasn't mine." "There's something wrong with these statements, please." But he had already turned away, heading for the stairs. "You have 10 minutes, and don't even think about trying to talk to my children. I'll call the police." In the silent living room, the building block still lay on the floor, a castle half finished, and it was there, in that cruel silence, that everything began to crumble. Since childhood, Amelia harbored a dream that seemed too modest for the world's eyes, yet immense within her. To open a community daycare in the neighborhood where she grew up. A humble place, with donated toys, colorful books, and where no child would ever be left alone. Perhaps because she herself had been one of those invisible children for so long. On her days off, she'd go to the public library to study early childhood education on her own. She read about childhood, emotional development, educational games. She kept everything in an old, faded blue notebook, filled with notes only she understood. She knew the dream was distant, but she carried it with her like a sacred promise. And then came the dismissal, the humiliation, the accusation. Mr. Thompson didn't just kick her out of the mansion, he uttered the word that stung the most, thief, right in front of the children. Amelia returned to the small back room she had rented for years with her nanny's salary. She brought only a suitcase of clothes, the drawings Chloe secretly gave her, and the stuffed dinosaur Lucas had dropped in the hallway while crying. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Her body felt present, but her soul was lost. The next day, upon trying to access her bank account, she knew for sure. There wasn't 5,000, nor 50. Only the same $180 left from her last payment, an amount that barely covered her bus fare for the week. So, how to explain the monthly transfers on the statement Mr. Thompson showed her? She began to suspect something larger was at play, but who would believe her? A nanny, a cleaning lady's daughter, without money, without influence, without a voice. She went to the bank, tried to get explanations, but they said the statements were correct, and that if there was fraud, she would need to initiate legal proceedings, and that cost time, money, things she didn't possess. By the end of the week, she lost the only 2 extra cleaning jobs she did on Saturdays. "I can't get involved in trouble, Amy," one of the employers said. "This whole situation could affect my home too. I'm sorry." The world seemed to be closing in, like a small, stifling, airless box. That Saturday night, lying on the thin mattress in her rented room, Amelia picked up her blue notebook. She stared at the notes about her dream daycare. The pages were stained, not with ink, but with tears, and she still believed she could fix everything. Sunday dawned overcast, but inside Amelia, the sky had been dark for days. She had spent the night on her friend Sarah's couch, the only person who opened her door without asking questions. Sarah simply said, "Stay here as long as you need. We'll figure it out." But even there, Amelia felt she took up too much space. She breathed carefully, tiptoed around. She was ashamed, exhausted, empty. It was on that couch that she first heard the rumors spreading. "Did you hear? The nanny from the Thompson house was caught stealing. Seems like it was a lot." Breach of trust is the worst. Took care of the kids and still had her hand in the till. The voice came from the TV, from the street, from the neighborhood group chat. The words varied, but the message was always the same. Amelia was guilty, and no one bothered to ask for her side of the story. On Monday afternoon, she decided to go to the school to get an old proof of residence. She needed it for a legal aid application. On the way, she saw Chloe and Lucas in the black car passing by with the new nanny. Chloe saw her. Her mouth opened, surprised, but she didn't wave. Amelia stopped walking. She felt the world stop with her. The girl who used to cry in her arms, scared of thunder, now pretended not to know her. It was understandable. She was just a child. But that hurt more than any accusation. That night, Amelia woke to the sound of her phone vibrating. It was an anonymous message. "You better disappear for good. You've caused enough damage." She didn't show it to Sarah, didn't reply. She just lay there, motionless, staring at the ceiling as if searching for an explanation in the void. In the following days, she tried to find work again, but at every house she knocked on, she heard the same thing. "Sorry, we already have someone. Aren't you that nanny who—" "I don't want any trouble, okay?" In a supermarket, while checking the prices of the cheapest breads, she heard a woman whisper next to her, "That's her. The mansion thief." Amelia dropped the package and hurried out, her face burning. On Thursday night, she went back to the small room she rented just to pick up her books and clothes. The landlord no longer allowed her to stay, even though the month's rent was already paid. "I don't want a scandal in my building. I'll give you half an hour to leave." She left with what fit in a backpack, and for the first time since her adolescence, Amelia had no address. She sought refuge in a corner of Sarah's room, sleeping on a folded blanket. The children, they vanished from her routine. The hugs, the drawings, the requests for just one more story before bed, everything was erased, as if she had never existed. On Friday night, Sarah returned from work and found Amelia curled up, clutching the blue notebook. "Did you eat anything?" Amelia shook her head, not answering. "I saw it in the neighborhood group. Mr. Thompson is saying he's going to file a criminal lawsuit, that he's going to seek jail time." Amelia closed her eyes. There was nothing left to lose. In the early hours of that same day, her phone vibrated with a new message, this time with an attachment. It was an audio file. The voice was soft, childish, but unmistakable. "Aunt Amy, it's Lucas. I sneaked the phone to send this. We miss you. The new nanny doesn't know your song, and Dad's always yelling at us. Will you come home?" She listened to the recording more than 10 times, cried softly, without Sarah noticing. That night, she thought perhaps no one would ever return. But the love was still there. Have you ever had to exit someone's life without even being able to explain yourself? If this part resonated with you, comment "yes" below, so I know you felt it too. Sometimes only those who have lived through this kind of pain understand the silence of a broken heart. The next day, still with swollen eyes, Amelia put on her headphones and listened to Lucas's recording again. It was short, 30 seconds, but within it was everything she needed. A reason. She closed her eyes and pictured the boy in his pajamas, hair messy, holding the phone with his small hands, speaking softly so no one would hear. And she felt for the first time in days something stir inside. It wasn't anger. It wasn't a desire for revenge. It was love. The same love that made her stay awake all night caring for them. The same that made her ignore Mr. Thompson's arrogant glances and remain there, present, steadfast, invisible, yet essential. Amelia opened her blue notebook, not to cry over it. This time it was to write. She picked up a pen and began to jot down everything she remembered, dates, situations, details. Day 12, meeting with men in suits. They left late at night. Thompson locked the office. Day 18, saw papers with high figures and public company stamps. Day 23, turned on the music to clean and he turned it off, agitated. Each line was a memory that once seemed trivial, but now made sense. She remembered the times she saw documents about public budgets on the table, names of construction companies, spreadsheets with enormous numbers. She began to suspect the theft accusation wasn't just about money, it was about silencing her. At the end of that afternoon, she asked for the number of the only lawyer she knew, Mr. Davis, a simple man, known in the neighborhood for defending small cases with great dignity. She called and explained, "I'm the nanny who was accused of theft by the Thompson family, but I'm innocent, and I'm sure they're trying to hide something else." On the other end of the line, silence. Then a question. "Are you willing to see this through, even if it hurts?" She took a deep breath, closed the notebook, and said, for the first time aloud, "Yes. I don't know if it will work, but this time I want to try." Mr. Davis was different from the lawyers Amelia imagined. He didn't wear expensive suits, didn't use complicated legal jargon, and didn't look at her with suspicion when he heard dismissal for just cause. On the contrary, he listened carefully to every detail, taking notes with a calm that instilled confidence. "Let's start with the basics," he said. "We need the true bank statements, and we also need to see if your digital signature was used by someone." In the following days, Amelia went from bank branch to bank branch, collecting documents, receipts, screenshots, everything she could. Meanwhile, she resumed working as a cleaner, ironing clothes, cleaning houses, scrubbing bathrooms, to afford bus fares and sometimes the lawyer's snack. It was a tough, fresh start, with no guarantees, but unlike the despair of previous days, now there was a thread of direction. While she sifted through statements, Mr. Thompson tried to maintain control at home, but Chloe had stopped eating the new nanny's pancakes. Lucas refused to sleep with the light off. The house was silent. Too silent. Outside, the truth began to breathe. Mr. Davis received a report from an acquaintance in digital security. The account from which the transfers originated had been created in Amelia's name, but the digital signature belonged to a corporate IP, and what's more, the address and phone number linked to the account didn't exist. Amelia began to believe that maybe it wasn't madness. What if she had been used? What if all of this was part of a larger scheme? But as the pieces fell into place, another battle began. The internal one. On cold nights, Amelia still wondered if it was worth it. What if, even with all this, no one believes me? What if the children have already forgotten me? What if I bring all this up and end up worse off than before. There were days when everything ached, her tired body, her dry eyes from holding back tears. But there were also moments of silence where doubt weighed more than any physical effort. It was on one of those nights, lying on the borrowed mattress, that her phone vibrated again. It was Sarah. "Amy, you won't believe this. Look." It was a video, a short clip filmed by Chloe herself with her school tablet. In the recording, Mr. Thompson is on the phone, in his home office, pacing back and forth. She knows too much. She got details of the contracts. If she talks, we're screwed. Amelia's face froze. There was the proof, not of the theft, but of the real reason behind her dismissal. She called Mr. Davis immediately. "I think we have what you need. Amelia, if this is legitimate, it changes everything." She hung up and looked at the tablet, Mr. Thompson's voice still echoing. For a second she felt fear, but right after, she felt something else, courage. The courtroom was spacious, but on that day it seemed far too small for the tension that hung in the air. Amelia sat with her hands clasped in her lap, shoulders straight, and her heart pounding as if it wanted to escape her chest. Beside her, Mr. Davis organized the evidence, falsified statements, bank documents, forensic analysis, and Chloe's video. At the other end, Mr. Thompson, in a dark grey suit, impassive expression, surrounded by two renowned lawyers. His public image remained intact, but for the first time his eyes avoided Amelia's. The judge, a balding man with a deep voice, began the session. "We are here to rule on the dismissal for just cause of Ms. Amelia Reynolds and the accusation of embezzlement. The defense also presents a counter-narrative with suspicion of identity fraud." Amelia barely heard the words. But then the judge looked directly at her. "Ms. Reynolds, are you ready to present your side?" She slowly stood. "I am." Mr. Davis began to speak. First, he presented the statement from Amelia's original account, with a negligible balance and no suspicious activity. Then, he showed the documentation for the fake account, created with a non-existent address, a burner phone, and a digital signature made from the IP of Mr. Thompson's own company office. There were murmurs. Mr. Thompson's lawyers requested a recess. The judge denied it. And then came the video. The lights were partially dimmed, and the silence was absolute as Mr. Thompson's face appeared on screen, speaking on the phone. "She knows too much. She got details of the contracts. If she talks, we're screwed." It was as if time froze. Mr. Thompson tried to stand, but the judge interrupted him. "Do you confirm you are the author of this recording?" Silence. "Mr. Thompson, it's my voice," he admitted. His jaw clenched. Chloe, sitting in the back row, squeezed Lucas's hand. Both watched everything with wide, trusting eyes. Mr. Davis then requested that the children be heard. The judge, after brief deliberation, authorized it. Chloe entered the room with her colorful backpack and sat down at the microphone. Her blue dress swayed with her nervous legs. "Do you know why you're here, Chloe?" She nodded. "I'm here because my dad lied. He said Aunt Amy stole, but he's the one who fired her because she saw things from his work." "What kind of things?" "I didn't understand everything, but he was talking about extra money on construction projects. He said if anyone found out, it would be a problem." The judge observed her with attention and kindness. "Do you trust Miss Amelia?" "More than anyone. She's my family. Even if she's not blood-related." Lucas was also called. He sat with the help of a cushion to reach the microphone. "She made banana pancakes on Sundays. She bathed me, helped me with homework. I didn't want her to leave." The judge took a deep breath, clearly moved. "And your father, Lucas?" Lucas hesitated, then said in a quiet voice, "He got angry. He yelled. After Aunt Amy left, the house got dark." Mr. Thompson kept his gaze fixed on the table. For the first time, he seemed small in that enormous room. The judge struck the gavel. "Given the material evidence, the children's testimonies, and the partial admission of the accused, I declare Ms. Amelia Reynolds innocent of all charges, and I order the initiation of proceedings for defamation, slander, and fraud against Mr. Thomas Thompson." Amelia's breath escaped in a silent sob. The children ran to her. And there, in the center of the courtroom, between cold benches and watchful eyes, Amelia embraced them, not as a nanny, but as a mother. The judge's decision changed the course of history. But it wasn't the courtroom that gave Amelia her life back. It was those two children sitting beside her who reminded her what it was to be seen, to be loved, to be believed. In the following months, she assumed provisional guardianship of Chloe and Lucas, and in time, initiated the adoption process. The apartment was modest, rented with effort, but in it there was more affection than in any mansion. Pancakes returned to Sunday menus, invented stories lulled them to sleep at night, and handmade drawings began to adorn the refrigerator door. Amelia went back to school. She enrolled in a night course in early childhood education. She began to dream of the community daycare again, but now with something she never had before: support. Mr. Thompson was convicted of fraud and lost custody of the children, but even from prison, he wrote a letter asking for forgiveness. Amelia read it aloud to the children. Chloe cried. Lucas drew a flower on the envelope and asked her to send it back, so he knows we still remember. The lesson Amelia learned is one that perhaps speaks directly to you, because sometimes life tries to silence those who carry the most truth, and still love finds a way to speak. Even when everything is stripped away from you, dignity, voice, ground, if what you built was with affection, that remains, that comes back, that transforms. And her journey reminds us that sometimes the strongest families are born from bonds no one sees, and the deepest stories blossom from those who never had anything, but chose to love anyway. If this story moved you in any way, please hit that like button. It tells me that stories like this still have a place in the world and in your heart. And I love knowing who's on the other side of the screen. Tell me in the comments, what city or country are you watching from? It means the world to me. If you believe in the power of real stories, subscribe to the channel. Every new subscription gives me the strength to keep bringing truths that touch, that heal, that inspire. And don't leave yet. Choose one of the 2 stories I've left on screen and join me in the next video.